This is Louis again, head of product. I know I also hate on skippable videos, but I promise you this will be worth it because it'll teach you how to use the power of Motion's AI skills. So we're going to create a AI skill together for my Alfred. He's my executive assistant in my private workspace. Let's go ahead and create a new skill. See, I can pick from one of the pre-existing ones, but I'm going to create one from scratch. So let's go through what this page is. So up here, you get to name your skill, give it a description. Here's the triggers. So a trigger is what triggers this skill to run. So you have manual triggers, which means you can click here, for example, run skill and click to run. You can run it on a schedule, which means, hey, I want to run this every morning. You can trigger based on a Motion event. For example, a project gets created, a project gets updated, a task changes status, something like that. You can trigger based on AI meeting notes. So for example, hey, a meeting with a candidate just ended. I want to do something with the meeting notes. And then we have external triggers. So when something happens in Gmail or when something happens in Salesforce. The skill we're going to make today is going to be client asked for project status. So what will this skill do? When a client emails me about the status of a project, reply with the status. All right. That means we need a Gmail trigger. So I'm going to click Gmail. And here you'll get a chance to connect your account. So you can connect another account. I'm going to use the one that I've already connected. This is just going to ask you to sign into Gmail. I'm going to click connect. And just like that, I have my trigger created. So you'll see here that Motion guides you through what you can do. I'm going to say here, basically, trigger whenever a new email arrives. And the sender is not from a usemotion.com address. Right? You'll see here that the full instruction is this trigger activates whenever a new email is received, provided the sender's address does not end with usemotion.com. So you can describe this in natural language. Cool. You can add multiple triggers, but that's just the gist of how triggers work. Now let's take a look at inputs. Now that I'm going to run the skill, what do I want my inputs to? Inputs are very important for cases where you have manual triggers, because when you click run a skill, for example, research a person, right? If I click run on this, you'll see a form with the inputs. But they also are important for things that trigger automatically, like Gmail, right? So for example, this at trigger variable is going to give me all the information about the email, but all I want is the sender and I want the body. What this will do is anytime an email comes in, it's going to parse it and it's only going to give me the sender in this variable and the body in this variable. Cool. So now that we have that, these are the steps that my skill is going to take. And we have a set of actions in here that you can do, and they are classified here. So general actions, things like generate text, instructions. You can do HTTP requests. You can research a topic. You can do a Google search, etc. You have some motion steps that you can take, like create stuff, create tasks, update projects, search, etc. We have some bespoke integrations with Salesforce, Gmail, Outlook, Slack, and Teams, and we have more integrations. So we have hundreds of integrations in here that you can use to build your skills. But for now, the first thing we're going to do is AI instructions. We're going to call this decision, right? So we need to make a decision if we need to parse this email or not. So looking at the sender and body of the email, make a decision to figure out if the sender is asking for the status of a project and what the project is. Return the data as follows. Sender needs status equals yes or no. And then project name equals project name for which the sender is asking for status. And so then the next thing we want to do is, if sender's status is yes, we want to go search for the project. So we need a search. Motion search projects. So let's call this search project. Search project. We're going to say if decision contains sender needs status equals yes, search for project with project name equals project name from decision, right? So this is just going to search for the project. Then what we're going to do is we are going to generate some text, right? So this is going to find the project and we're going to say write status report. And in here, we're going to say using the content, actually, project using the contents of search project, write a report of no more than 200 words, mostly in bullet points, about what the status of this project is. All right. And then lastly, we're going to draft. I'm going to draft an email message. Very cool. And so we're going to say, actually, we need one more thing. We need a thread ID up here. So we're going to say thread ID. And then we're going to say here, draft reply for message with thread ID with the contents of write status report. Very nice. So here we go. Everything generated. So I'm just going to go create AI skill. Cool. So Alfred has acquired the skill. It's going to trigger whenever a new email arrives and the sender's not from usemotion.com. Very cool. So now I have a few active projects, for example, AI Docs Canvas. So I'm going to send myself an email asking about that project. I'm sending myself an email. All right. So I send myself that email. Imagine a client just send that email. There we go. You can see here how the skill ran. Here's the sender. Here's the thread. Here's the output. What's the status of the AI Doc Canvas project? You can see that it made a decision that the project does need status. The project is the AI Doc Canvas. It searched the project. It found the correct projects. It wrote the status report, and then it goes ahead and sends the reply. Let's take a look at that. And you can see here's the latest on the AI Doc Canvas project, design, development, QA, next steps, are all right here. And I can just click send and send that project. All right, that is how you create skills and add them to your AI employees. Hopefully you find this useful, and this whole AI employees feature helps you and your team be more productive. You'll find more information in tutorials. Till then, see you later. Bye-bye.